I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm like, yo, okay, I could see PS1, PS2, PS4 being on PS5, right? No problem. The PS3 and that cell processor, man, that's the problem. So what did your sources say regarding emulating those games? Yeah.
I'm gonna break the whole thing down.
Yeah, go ahead,
that's what I'm here. I'm here to break the whole thing down.
All right.
So here's the first thing, right? So back in 2018, shout out to Michael Pachter, that's my bro right there, love him. So back at 2018, at Pachter's party, someone that I spoke to, I can't reveal the sources. I can't get nobody in trouble. Mm-hmm. So at Michael Pachters party, somebody that I spoke with, very powerful person. Just know that. Right? If you ever been to a Michael Pachter party, you know what's up. So a very powerful person in the industry. So when we was talking, PlayStation Now happened to come up in the conversation and stuff like that, right? So then when I was talking to him about it, I was like, well, yo, like when will we be able to because you could download PlayStation 4 games and you could download PlayStation 2 games. Yeah. You can't download PS3 games and just run them. You can only stream them, on the PS4. And then on top of that, when we was having a conversation, I was like, yo, so when it comes to PlayStation Now in terms of the overall goal, I remember, if you go back to 2013 when David Perry had said their goal is to make sure that PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 could all be, on one platform. If you go back to 2013, this is what he said, because the goal, and Sony greenlit it. It was one of the biggest, most ambitious things that they did green light. And the reason why they did it is because they didn't want the fans to be left behind with all the games that they grew to love, because that's still a part of their audience. You understand what I'm saying? This is like literally what he has said. So when I was talking to the person that I was talking to, I was like, how is that going to go forward if PlayStation Now is the only way that doing this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because PS2 had backwards compatibility, PS3, the first one, the first batches did, and then it's like, it fell through. So part of the process was when they developed the PS4, their main goal was making sure that it's easy to develop for. Period. Their first and foremost thing, their main thing was features and making sure it was perfect, to develop for, and people was happy when it came to the development cycle. Obviously, they achieved that, but that was the first thing. When it comes to backwards compatibility, they still want to be there, but going forward, they trying to find a way where it can exist even without the need for PlayStation Now. So then I was like, okay, that's all right, that's interesting, but obviously it's not enough. But I've been sitting on this information for a few years. But from that conversation, it wasn't enough for me to jump the gun. Yeah. But I was like, okay, this is interesting because based off that conversation, they still want to make sure that PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 can all be experienced on one box. That was the ultimate overall goal out the gate. That's what they wanted to do. So that's what I got from that. Now, before I leave that conversation, one thing that was very interesting was when we was talking about the PS3 in particular, the way PlayStation Now works, it works because they created a motherboard that runs on a server so that they can run the PS3 games on PS4 right now in the form of streaming. So it's not emulation. It's already hardware based right now.
That's right, yeah.
Well, but I mean, but PlayStation Now is literally just running video to your console. There's obviously it's doing imports, but you're essentially playing. It's like you're playing. You're
playing a YouTube video.
It's remote play.
You're playing essentially a remote machine. Yeah.
Right. I understand that, but what I'm saying, it was still built on on hardware that will allow you to even do that. Like that. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just telling you from what I was told, and I was like, oh, that's interesting because I never thought about it, like that. But I was like, yo, that is true. And if you do the research, they'll tell you they created a motherboard because it's not emulation. They use a motherboard, and the motherboard was, I think, it replicated like 8 PS3 cores in order to run in a server rack in order for it to even exist. so we can play it or something like that. And I was like, yo, that's interesting. That that was told to me. So I said, okay, cool. That was a lot of information right there. And then after that, we bounced because we had to pack the party. Like you saying, we ain't gonna talk that long, but we had a good conversation. You know what I'm saying? And that came up, and it was dope. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the first part. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. So then the next thing is I'm playing PCS X2, and I got all these emulators on my PC, and I'm playing them, and I'm playing Bloody Raw, in like 4K. Like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in 4K. You can look at some of my streams and clearly see the difference in the game. I'm like, yo, I'm blown away by all of this. Like, this is crazy. Like, so I'm playing this, and then when I was doing some research, like, looking at the patents that came out, that Mark Cerny put out, and just seeing all of these things, one of the things that that I realized when they was talking about the timing, because there's 3 patents, I believe, in total, but one patent was talking about timing and rest mode and stuff like that. So even with the emulators, I could run it perfectly and it's amazing. But if I adjust like the emotion engine on PlayStation 2 and set certain megahertz to do certain things, it's going to run poorly. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. And I was just learning more about it. Like, just for my own information, just learning more about it, seeing exactly how it works. And the way it works is, like, I was able to change a lot of things from within it, like the scaling of it. And then I was able to change all these things. And then I was like, yo, that's interesting, because if you play PlayStation if you play PlayStation 4, then you play PlayStation 4 Pro. If I put God of War in PlayStation, the base PlayStation, it's going to work, it's going to run, it's going to be amazing. If I put it in PS4 Pro, naturally it's going to be better because the system, is better. So it does it naturally. But even on a PS4 Pro, you have it where they got like the super sampling mode, and you got boost mode, which if you utilize these things, or if you still only got a 1080p TV and not a 4K TV, it's going to super sample. So it's going to make it look better than what a traditional 1080p image would be, because the resolution will scale down so it could be better, and you get rid of the jaggies and stuff like that with the anti-aliasing. So I was just learning more about how all this stuff is coming about based on the conversations that I had before. So then the next thing that happened that brought me closer to this was when Jim Ryan was saying how it's very important to make sure that we could do the transition from PS4 to PS5 as easy as possible. Yeah. And stuff like that. And in doing that, we must focus on backwards compatibility, at the highest level. So when people get a PS5, they don't feel like they're leaving anything behind. Yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. Okay, I get that. Even though it was PS4 that was mentioned, I get that, but that still wasn't enough. So then a few marketing people that I had a conversation with that's with PlayStation, and some that's working alongside PlayStation, because remember, the company that was with PlayStation that started the Greatness Awaits campaign and stuff like that, they got fired. Well, I'm not sure if they got fired or they just decided to part ways, or however it is.
They went with a new marketing.
But they went with a new marketing company and stuff like that. Now, I was like, okay, this is interesting, so let me see what's up, because I know I have a lot of people that's tied to these things, because what you have to understand, and especially in my position, like, I deal with everyone. So for example, you see like some of the models that you have that would do a commercial for PlayStation or a commercial for Nintendo. Yeah. Like, even Kevin Butler, he's an actor. Like, he's an actor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this other stuff, like, they all attach to different agencies. And I work with these agencies too. You understand what I'm saying? So I be talking to people where they be saying things they ain't supposed to say. Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, this marketing conversation that I had was like the killer. And there's a couple of other things that was the killer that made me understand that this is 100% happening. And it made me feel comfortable enough with the sources that I had and the people that I spoke with in that level that I was like, I bet I'm gonna put this out. And the thing is, before I tell you this part, a lot of journalists, and you could call it as a call out if you want, but anybody can say, take it with a grain of salt, this is a rumor, and then in turn call themselves this insider or journalist or whatever. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. In my situation, and I always do this, I always put my name on the line. You know me, you know my face, so I can't escape anything if I turn out to be wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I put it on the line. That's why I get the biggest rewards in return. Because for the most part, I've been right about a lot of things. Right? No, nobody's perfect. For the most part, I have been about major things. And I'm gonna bring those things for those that's listening, watching, that may not know my track record, or may not know the things I broke, because you like to give certain credit. You understand?
Yeah.
But anyway, going forward, the marketing talking about
hip hop. Hold on a second. You're like roboting. Is anybody else hearing that too?
No, I was hearing it.
Okay. Yeah, I hear him roboting.
Okay, talk again, bro. Yeah, you. Yeah, like your connection.
Yeah, that's definitely you.
Hold up.
Yeah, just
hold on.
You sound like you Optimus Prime right now, my friend.
I guess maybe just dip out and come back if you can.
That's weird. That never
you're good. You're good now. Keep talking. You're good now.
You're check it out.
Damn it! You got it fucked up again.
It's a weird digital
issue
going on.
Yo, let me reload Discord. You want me to reload it?
Actually, you're good now. You're good now. You're good now.
I'm good?
Yeah. All right, just keep talking. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy, because I was on a show with Torrance yesterday, and no problems happened.
Yeah, Discord is really like that. Anyway, go on, bro.
I don't like Discord. But anyway, so with the marketing conversation, this was one of those things that was like the killer for me. I was like, oh shoot, like this is crazy. All the research, all the people that I spoke with, and then this particular conversation, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So when it came down to the marketing and stuff like that, the backwards compatibility was actually a part of the marketing. And it's all about being tied to PlayStation being this epic legacy that they want to talk about, that they want to highlight, and also it played a role in not allowing competition to have a leg up on anything and stuff like that. And I was like, this is very interesting, because obviously one of the things that I mentioned in the video was Xbox and how they do backwards compatibility, and how things is a bit similar from what I was hearing as well, and the conversations that I had, because obviously Xbox came up in those conversations when we was talking. Yeah. Stuff like that. So I was like, yo, this is very, very interesting. And even with the Red Dead Redemption and how that looks in 4K, you know what I'm saying? That's, mind blowing. Like in all these other games, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So when I was having these conversations, the actual marketing that's going to be a part of PlayStation is supposed to also have like a legacy marketing. So I'll give you an example. Do you remember the commercial that came out where they showed a timeline of PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4? Yeah.
PlayStation 9. Remember that? You talking about that one?
I ain't talking about that. No. Yeah, I ain't talking about that. Last year, there was a commercial that came out, and it showed kids and what life was like in each era that the PlayStation that came out and stuff like that. And it's PlayStation 1. You remember who said they remember?
Yeah, Riku's on one. Yeah, I remember that. You remember the dude? He had the PS1. Right? He was in his room and all that stuff.
Yeah, he was in his room, and then it
transition to PS2. Yeah,
in a transition outside, and you see the date change and all that stuff, right? So that came up in conversation.
Okay,
and I was like, oh, word. So I was like, so how does this all correlate with the PS5? And it was like, well, PS5, it was built with backwards compatibility in mind. And they have a marketing campaign that's going to touch on the whole legacy of PlayStation, and PlayStation 5 will be like the first ever official like console that will allow you to experience all generations of PlayStation in a new way. So I was like, what?
That's crazy.
Wait. So HipHop, you're saying
the disc, you put the disc in and play it. And when you put the disc in and play it, there's features and settings that will allow you to make those things better. And the thing is, we already seen signs of it. I'll give you an example. Do you remember in PS2, when you played PS1 games, they had the option to smooth it out?
That's right. Yeah.
That's just a minor version of what I'm talking about today. These are the conversations that we had. Yes.
PSP and PS Vita.
I don't know.
No. Let me finish. PSP, the PS Vita, and the PS3, the first version that can do backwards compatibility. All three of those had those options too. So yeah, Sony has definitely been, with their At least with the devices that do have backwards compatibility, they do like to put those type of smoothing features in there. It's not just the one that you said, but I'm just adding to the ones that you have said. That's all.
Yeah, got you. So I don't know nothing about because that wasn't mentioned in a conversation. Yeah. Not to say that it's not going to be there or whatever, but it's.
That'd be sick too, though. Guess what, people? That's not it. You can play your PSP games on here too.
But this has to be just for first party titles, because I can't imagine the first thing once you brought that up. The first thing I'm thinking was like, yo, I'm gonna bust out my Tony Hawk, which is not on PS4, and put that in. But we know that they have licensing issues because of the music.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up, because that's another thing that we spoke about. Because when it came down, matter of fact. That the first part of what you just said, that I spoke about that when I was at Practice Party too. I had mentioned the whole licensing thing as well, but after I mentioned that, I really didn't get any extra information too much after that. But in terms of the licensing thing, when you set it up, so you just put your disc in, that's it, because you already got the game. It's yours. Like, you don't have to worry about that. You have to, when you have it in the Netflix format, then you got to worry about that because of the format that is being born on. That's why Xbox just had to stop their program. You know what I'm saying? With the backwards compatibility, because it wasn't like full like backwards compatibility. There was still that element where you got to get the license, stuff like that, Xbox Game Pass, blah blah blah.
It's because you're essentially looking at whatever disc you got, and then it's downloading whatever game you have. It's all kind of a case basis, right?
Yeah, so the thing is,
a digital version of it.
Yeah, so the thing is, you see how the developers had to manually go in and make sure those games run, make sure those games work, and add things to them and stuff like that. So this now, what I'm about to say now, goes back to the patents and stuff like that. So now with the patents, if you look at like the patents and how they talk about how it says like, legacy mode, CPU, and it's like a spoofing ID to manipulate it to make you think that you're using whatever you're using so that it can actually work and go through the data process and all this other stuff. What it is, and this is very interesting to me based on all the information I was getting. So they have it set up to where on the actual chip or, legacy chip, however they want to call it, is when you put it in the disc, it can read like native mode, like just regular. They got that option and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they have it set up to where there's an algorithm. This is where the whole remastering engine thing, when I said that, and I'm gonna tell you how that came about. So when you put it in, you get the opportunity to have these like custom features that you can turn on, so that when you play a regular game, it'll look remastered and stuff like that. Naturally, through an algorithm that they built, because the PS5 was also built with backwards compatibility in mind to do this. And this is like the next generation of what backwards compatibility is based on what we're used to seeing. And that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, you can't think about, well, PS3 had the cell processor and it's hard to develop for, so it's out. You can't think like that. And I'm going to tell you why you can't think like that. So I had an interview with my man Franco with AMD, and you could go to my YouTube channel and pull it up right now if you want to, anybody that's in the chat, or you could type in HipHopGamer AMD interview or whatever, and you'll see we talked about AMD and what they can do. And the person I was talking to, he wasn't working on the PS5 chip, but he's an engineer for the AMD. Okay. Not a marketing guy. He's an engineer for the AMD. So he knows all the stuff that's going on, what it can and can't do, and all this other stuff. So obviously off camera, I had a few conversations with them. Like, for example, with all this ray tracing stuff that everybody's talking about with AMD, they've been told me about that years ago. Like, yo, bro, but I couldn't say nothing. And what you have to understand, is like certain things I can't say, even if I don't name a source, because I got somebody in trouble before because internally the company knew where I got it from. So now I got to be that much more careful and calculated when I do certain things, because I never even thought about that. I thought if you just didn't say nobody's name, it's no foul.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this whole story was a lot. So anyway, going back to what I was saying with the whole PSD chip. So with AMD, they were showing me Far Cry 5, right? And they was running Far Cry 5, but there was no like GPU. There was like no AMD Radeon in there. It was just CPU they had in there, and they was able to run everything without the GPU being like a part of it. And I was like, yo, how y'all doing this? Like, this technology is crazy. So then the PlayStation Now, when I was telling you about how they did a chip, and they was able to run PlayStation Now and everything like that. I asked a question. This ain't Franco I'm talking to at the moment though, so like leave his name out of it. Like, it's not him that I'm talking to at the moment. But I talked to someone else that was there, and this was PAX. This was PAX East, I believe. So I had a conversation with them, and I was like, yo, I had two main questions. I was like, what is it, about y'all that Xbox and PlayStation work with y'all but don't want to work with, NVIDIA? Because remember, when PlayStation 3 was announced on stage and everything, Jensen came out from NVIDIA talking about all the graphics and everything. So people be forgetting. Y'all gotta go back and look. Like, y'all, you know what I'm saying? You gotta understand. That's it's research. Like, y'all gotta research everything, because so many things go over people's head. You gotta read between the lines. Context is everything. So what happened is when I was having a conversation with AMD, and we was talking about the whole NVIDIA thing and everything like that. One thing that they said, one thing that was told to me when I mentioned the whole PS3 and how could that work, because everybody keeps talking about that. They pretty much came out and said, of course it could work. Like, you can make anything happen. Technology changes every day. We got the technology to do like things that we couldn't do before, but we could do it now. So you can't think in a traditional way all the time just because something didn't work at a point in time.
Yeah.
Things change all the time, so you can't think of it that way. So that's when I was like, "Yo, this is interesting." And then the other thing that they said when I talked about can PS3, like run on like any like future machine that Sony do, or we just gonna, or is it just PlayStation Now forever? Like what's going on? And it was like, no, they could easily do it, especially with the technology that's out now. So I said, okay, they left for that. It still wasn't enough for me to jump there. Still wasn't enough, but that was a lot. So here, I'm gonna tell you two things right now that really changed the game. So when God of War 3 Remastered came out, and a lot of the other remastered games, not remakes.
Yeah, remaster. Yeah,
remasters game.
Yeah,
remaster
Last
games.
of Us. That was another one. Yeah.
The business of remastered games started to slow up a lot. For example, you remember when Medieval recently came out too?
Yeah.
And ain't really make any impact or whatever. There's a remastered version and all that stuff, but it ain't really have an impact. It wasn't talking about that. But what's making an impact is remakes. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
it is also medieval. Nobody really cares.
Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about medieval.
But you understand the point.
Yeah.
But even with God of War 3, remastered and a lot of these other games and stuff like that, it really didn't even look that much different at all. It was really no impact at all, bro. And people said,
well, yeah, because they're not. In those games, they're just essentially making a port of the game to.
Yeah, it was just a double dip for them.
That's just a double dip.
You want to play it on the console? Pay a little extra. There you go. You're happy.
Exactly. So the point is, from a business standpoint, even on the back end and stuff like that, even if you listen to some of the calls, like because they got the calls documented. Where you could go and listen to like financial calls and see what people are saying, see what they're doing, and see who the journalists that's on those calls and the questions that they ask. All that stuff is public knowledge. Excuse me. So, with the whole remaster thing, that's another thing that's brought up in the video. How remakes is going to be the bigger investments, and they're making tons of money on the remakes, and the remakes is more targeted because they know who want remakes. Like they know that. It's more of a guarantee. It's a higher percentage of a guarantee that the remake that they make is going to be a hit.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2. That's a perfect example right there.
Resident Evil 2, like all this stuff.
Yep.
So
even EA, when they came out and said that
Spyro,
this year 2020, they were going to start remaking a lot of their older IPs, and this is why making money.
Right. So now here's another thing that happened that within that particular conversation I was having, because even with the marketers. And some of the other business people that I had conversations with when it came to that subject of remastering, one of the big things, and it's so funny because even Jim Ryan in an interview 2 days ago, I believe, he was talking about that there's a lot of unique features and major things that hasn't been announced yet that's way bigger than what you already know. And one of the things is they was like, how can we do something where it's like when you play a game on PlayStation 5, you don't want to just play it and that's it. You want it to be better on PlayStation 5. No matter what you play, what generation you play it on, whatever, we want it to be significantly better when you experience it on PS5. And I was like, wow. So I was like, how does that work? So now, if you go back to the patent, I forgot which patent this was. I think this was the most recent one. But if you go back to the patent and stuff like that, there's an article that and when I said what I said on camera in terms of remastering engine, this is before I even seen what I'm about to tell you right now.
Okay.
So there's another article that mentions the remastering of the old generations through this particular patent, and it was branded as PlayStation Legacy. I was like, yo, hold up. You go look it up right now. There's 3 patents in total, I believe, and stuff like that. So I was like, yo, this is all not a coincidence. And then just for laughs, how did the Sony CES, how did that start?
Oh yeah, that's right.
How did that start? In terms of Jim Ryan hit the stage.
They're talking about their past, right, or something like that.
Yeah, they're talking about the past. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah, the whole thing.
Now, let me tell you this.
Yo, I love the way you're setting this shit up, son. This shit is crazy right now, man.
Let me tell you this, right? Jim Ryan said, and this was I think in 2013, 14 maybe, something like that. But Jim Ryan has said, why would anybody want to play anything that looked like that when they was referring
That's to right. I remember that. Games. I remember that. Yeah.
And then 2 years later, backwards compatibility is our main focus going into one of our main focuses going into PS5.
That's why I laugh when people are like, oh well, I don't play any of my old stuff, and that's bullshit because whenever they do a remake or a remaster or whatever, everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to get it. I was like,
I'm not finished.
You know you want this.
Yeah, let him finish. Let him finish.
So then the next thing is, here's the other thing that was like another killer for me that made me understand what was going on. Xbox sales boosted like crazy when people was able to play Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops and all these old games on Xbox, and it was crazy. Yo, mad people started playing all the old games, Jade Empire, all this other stuff on Xbox. It was going crazy, and that played a role in how successful their business was growing. Right?
Yeah.
So now with everything I just said, to break down what I was saying and stuff like that, I'm gonna go back to the final blow. When I was talking with my marketing people, stuff like that, we was talking about a lot of stuff. And when we and what like killed it was when I said, yo, getting well, if PlayStation 5 is the official system that allows you to play everything on it, but not only that, you can put the disc in and like back in the day, and it looked better. Like, it's over, right? Like, it's over, right? So he was like, all right, bet, check this out. Let me tell you this. And that's when I got excited in my mind. I couldn't get too hyped in person. You know what I'm saying? And you know me, I get hyped anywhere I go. But the reason why I want to get too overhyped, because this is extremely confidential, but I'm still a journalist. So, like there's always that piece of a percent that if somebody says something, it's just like when people be leaking like pictures of death kits that they're not supposed to. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be careful with these things.
Yo,
right?
It was one time, and you keep bringing the shit up. All right, let's just keep going forward.
What?
Okay. Like, my man, you threw me off.
Yeah, Adam, that was crazy.
So the last thing is when he's like, I bet, I'm gonna tell you like this, right? Not only do they know that and stuff like that, but they already have like tests that they did this on. So when you saw the Spider-Man thing, that Spider-Man clip showing how games run faster and everything like that, that wasn't the only demo that they did that with. They did that with other games of other generations, and I was like, hold up. And they was
they did that with Knack? Excuse me?
Other games.
So then I was like, yo, stop, man. He's like, yeah. So one of the big things that we're gonna do is we want PS5 to be all you need. In order to do that and support the people and stuff like that, we had to go this route. That's why it was built that way. So yes, you will be able to use like everything. This is going to be one of the biggest things that we're going to do. But not only that, and stuff like that. One of the things that people was talking about was, if they do that, then what's the purpose of PlayStation Now? And so like that.
Yeah, that was my question.
Well, so streaming if you don't own the game, right?
So my thing is it's all optional. It's just for example, right? If I'm a business, right, and let's say I own Sprite, let's say I own the Coca-Cola company, and I'm selling Mountain Dew, Pepsi, and Sprite. If you brought more Sprite than Pepsi, I don't care. Like, it's still all coming to me. You know what I'm saying? It's not cannibalizing Sony. Like, put it like this. If, let's say somebody say, I don't want the PlayStation Now subscription, I'd rather just do it this way. Okay, well, all the games you got now, that's great. But there's games that you probably still gonna want that you don't got, that may be hard to get. Like, I don't know what their plans are, in terms of that part. But they may be hard to get, so you may wind up getting PlayStation Now anyway, or searching for the old game so you can use a disc. Whatever it is, it's all about option, variety, and stuff like that. So either way, it all goes.
Also, not to mention, like, Sony has a lot of those games already online.
Yeah. So now, hold up. I gotta tell you this too.
Go ahead, man.
I gotta tell you this too. You see how there's a section on the PlayStation Store, which is PS2 on PS4?
Yeah.
That's not by accident. Listen to me. It's not by accident. You see how I can go to the store and get a PlayStation 4 game, or I can just download it?
Yeah.
Okay. The section specifically says PS2 on PS4. So if you want to play some PS as an option, if you can't get the disc or whatever it is, or you don't got whatever it is, get it here. Either way, you can play it, you can enjoy it as if you did have the disc, whatever. Because you got to keep in mind that we are in a digital world, and that's where everything is going anyway. But the point I'm trying to make, all of these things was not by accident, and the investment to make all these things happen was stemmed in 2012. And if I was able to tell you the actual people that I spoke to about this, the internet will break again.
This makes me wonder if they
like that. So here's
shout out to Red Infamy, man.
Oh yeah.
Yo, what's going on, Red?
It's like that.
What's going on, girl? I haven't seen her in a while. Anyway, go on, bro.
So my thing is, what I want to tell you is, in terms of my sources and stuff like that, because I said this on a show yesterday with Torrance. Torrance was saying how like if this don't happen at the reveal, or if it don't happen at E3 or something, they're gonna have to put you in a bomb shelter because everybody's gonna get at you. So I said everything that like I do, especially over the years as I gotten better and stuff like that, I'm not gonna put myself out there unless I feel 100% comfortable. You know what I'm saying? With putting myself out there. So I trust the source. I trust all the stuff that I got. I put it on my back and we going and stuff like that. And if somebody want to like bash me or whatever, if something don't come out exactly how I said it, I don't care. Like, it don't matter. I'm going all out for mine, because if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. And if you want to be great can't come without taking, risks. I just feel 100% comfortable and perfectly fine with all the stuff that's happening. Now, and this is more directed towards Tony, because you're a journalist in the industry. The way this story blew up, good and well, if there was no truth to it, Sony would have put a stop to it immediately. Period. Think about that. Yeah. Think about this. How many stories have we seen? We've seen it recently when they was talking about Sony using cartridges, and that blew up like crazy. And then that got nipped in the bud fast because it was really for a toy.
Yeah,
it was like for like a toy that's coming out in Japan. So they nipped it in the bud real fast. And to my knowledge, that came directly from Sony. So, and we've seen this in the past where certain things get blown out of proportion and certain people would come out and say, nah, that's not true. And they debunk the rumor.
Yeah.
It's like that.
That's right. Yeah.
In this situation, listen, Hip Hop Wired covered this. Digital Trends, International. My name is in every Japanese outlet right now. Like, you don't understand, bro. This is like the biggest story of the year for 9 days straight. Like, yo.
So to summarize for anybody,
man, bigger than Iran.
Yo, you're bigger than Godzilla in Japan, son.
Wait. So just to summarize for people jumping in, what you're saying is that with the PS5, it will, like we've heard, play the PS1, PS2, PS3, but it will play other licenses, not just Sony exclusive titles. It'll play anything from those. All right.
Yes.
Well, all right. Another clarifying comment. So, like you're talking, it'll play all of those games. And I don't know if we talked about this yet, but also the discs that we own, like we all have like our old collections. You know,
yeah,
PS2,
I got some
PS1.
old stuff. I got a whole bunch of old PS3 games.
So you can get a PS3. I can get my Uncharted 2. Put that in the PS5.
Yeah.
And it'll whatever, download it or install it or whatever, and it'll play on the PS5.
I'm not sure how that process works. Whether you download it, I'm assuming install. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just assuming that. But but the thing is, the features built within PS5 is a system feature. So it's like, for example, if you want to use super sampling mode, you turn that on the system of the PlayStation. So when you run a game, it's on. You understand what I'm saying?
Like boost mode, yeah.
I think super sampling, it'll do it by default because the PS5 is going to be, I mean, if you're playing on a 4K TV and you're playing, I don't know, fucking Gran Turismo 1, it'll still super sample because it needs to upscale it to 4K or whatever the resolution of the TV is.
However, they do it. But what I'm saying is, yes. You know what I'm saying? So it's, bro, like, you don't understand. I've been like sitting on this story for so long because I didn't feel comfortable saying it because I was like really like everybody else. It's like, how they gonna do this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, you gotta think about it. You gotta think about it. Like, and people said this. Like, you gotta look at even other YouTubers that's making videos about this. People already said, right? Like, they said if PlayStation 5 really does this, where you can experience every generation on PS5 and you could just play it, and it's better and all this other stuff, then they won.
Oh, like, without a doubt.
No, I'm being honest. Like, people really are saying this. They was like, not only will I buy this day one, but they won. Like, Xbox could do whatever they want to do. That's fine, but there's no way. Like, think about this: Dark Cloud, Rise of the Kasai, all the old Bouncer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the Bouncer from, just think.
Well, I'm thinking also about what about the games that...
there's over 13
developers.
Actually, hold on. I want to highlight HipHop's point right here, right? Okay, because everybody was talking about how like great it is to play Xbox 360, and Xbox One games. That's great, right?
Yes.
But check this out, HipHop. You're gonna love this, right? So that's like what 19 years or so of games or so, right? PlayStation. 4 generations, 25 years of game. If this shit is true, everything you're saying right now, this is, like you said, instantly gonna be like the console generation. Everyone's buying shit, and to prove a point, Emilio right here, right? He never buys the system day one. He says he's buying his shit day one if it's backwards compatible like this.
You serious, Emilio?
Yep.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, let me talk. Any generation going back to because you don't got a lot of money back in the day, right? You wait till it goes down in price. I mean, to be honest, like if this new one if it's got the backward compatibility, yeah, I'll put away my old PlayStation 2 and my PlayStation 3 and my PlayStation 4 and slap down a PlayStation 5 right there.
Basically turning it into like a PC where it could play everything, but just in the PlayStation universe, just playing everything that ever came out on PlayStation. Yeah, that would be awesome, and that would be amazing. And we know people would run out there. And this also opens up the doors for just certain publishers that had an old title that they know there's a digital version, but they're like, hey, maybe we can re-release this as a special edition. and charge whatever ridiculous amount.
If you look at the PlayStation Store right now, I mean, every single a lot of those PlayStation 1 games are all on there. They worked on the PlayStation 3, they worked on the PlayStation Vita and PSP. So all that stuff is sitting out there, and so is all the library. Most of the library of the PlayStation 5 is just not 5, but 3 is all sitting online. Now, if they're able to do this, that would mean they could literally just shut off all that old stuff and run you toward the new thing.
But what about the multiplayer for some of these games? Those are not.
Well, that would have to be probably a case by case basis. Like in other words, they would have to be like, okay,
I didn't
get
any information on those things.
Yeah,
I really didn't. So I'm not sure. And I will tell you this though, that I think is very interesting, because there is a few things that I asked that they just refuse to not say anything about. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, you gonna give me all of this? So like that kind of like, but one thing that's like very interesting and stuff like that was, like, you see how the PlayStation 5 looks with the
dev kit,
the way the dev kit look, and like by design and stuff like that and everything like that. Like, one thing that's very interesting that they was talking about is like the design of like a system is a dead giveaway of, you know, like what it could do. Because if you look at how a PC is, or how a PC chassis is built or whatever, they always talk about, like, you know, the power or the cooling, or these things play a role in performance.
Yeah.
You see how everybody was talking about how, you know, they was talking about the teraflops and everything. But one thing that's been consistent was that developers said that the PS5 is even easier to develop for than the PS4 was. And not only that, they're getting better performance at an easier rate because it's more efficient and stuff like that. So when I asked about, like, in terms of, like, you know, what games can be, like what games can look like, you know, going forward and stuff like that, they were so reluctant to talk about the things that they're doing with their new, like, system, like what's in it, like what can be done. I think we're on the brink of the biggest generational leap in actual, like, graphics, gameplay, just what can be done in gaming, period. I think this will probably be the biggest generational jump that we've ever seen, because they were so tight-lipped on about what it can actually do. And I was like, it was just strange to me. But they was real serious. They was like, yo, the stuff that this machine's gonna be able to do. And what I'm thinking of is PC has been growing a lot. It's like people been buying like PCs, laptops, everything. And things has been being a lot more cost effective than normal, even in the world of PC. But also the graphics barrier and everything has been closing a lot. Like, if you look at Red Dead Redemption 2 on Xbox One X, comparison to the PC one looks better. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, it looks better.
Always does.
But the Xbox One X is not dramatically that far back, especially when you think of the price of, you know, what things cost.
Yeah. To be fair though, the PC version of Red Dead Redemption is not that well optimized at this point, you know, so you got to take that into consideration.
Is true too. You know? That is true. So I'm just saying is the fact that they was like real tight-lipped on that, it's just very interesting what AMD is doing in terms of how they customize the PlayStation. Because if you remember, Dr. Lisa, she did an interview on, I think, CNBC. No, she did an interview with my man, I think Joe Kramer, Fast Money, and stuff like that. And she was talking about this special sauce, you know, that they did with PlayStation and stuff like that. And I'm just, see, my thing is, when I hear certain things and I tie it to the conversation that I had, in the fact, like I said, the fact that I put this out and nobody, like, it's like this. And I told Torrance this yesterday. Let's say Sony came out and said, no, this ain't happening. This ain't true. Then a lot of gamers would be like, well, why not? Like we want that. Why you not doing that? So now they under fire to explain. That's one. Then two, by them not saying nothing, it makes it hold even that much more truth, which relates to me saying 100%. You understand what I'm saying? But let me not say nothing and just let it be what it is. That's two. Three, right now, and I know this for a fact, people inside Sony seeing everything that's going on. And let's just say people happy.
Okay, yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, obviously, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you something. You cannot answer this, obviously. Okay. You can't answer it, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway. Have you been getting hit up by anybody behind the scenes? I know you can't answer that, but that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Man.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Oh man,
serious? Can't answer that.
Yeah, well, that's why I said I know you can't answer it, but I just had to throw it out there. By the way, I find it interesting that today Sony did come out and say,
trying to make me lead the call.
You crazy, man. But that's a good point. Nobody considers like, if this was fake, right? Sony would have shut that shit down with the quickness, but they haven't.
Well,
they haven't said anything. But at the same time, sometimes they say that like them shutting it down is a confirmation that it's happening too. Gerard, you know what I'm talking about. That happens too. It's like,
of course.
Yeah. So it's kind of both of them at the same time.
I feel you on that too. But let me explain something to you. And for those that's like listening and watching that may be questionable about, saying me or whatever. So like one of the biggest stories ever, right, was when I said, I got so many stories, and I'm gonna give you recent and old, so you can see a pattern. Because there's a lot of people that don't understand how the industry works. So let's go. When I said that Insomniac being on PS3 only is a thing of the past, I said this November 14th, 2009. Right? I said Insomniac being PS3 only is a thing of the past. Right? Then after that, May 25th, 2010, guess who becomes publisher for the next Insomniac game? EA.
Yeah, that's right. EA. Fuse came out of that. That's right. Yep.
Now, people try to get at me like, now think about it. It's November, December, January, February, March, April, May. For 6 months, people was like, who the F is you? Like, who the blah, blah, blah. And then look. So let me bring this up to you. When I told people that Bungie is not going to be with Xbox only forever and stuff like that, they move into, imagine a Bungie game on PS3 and all this other stuff. What happens?
Yeah, Destiny.
Okay. I need these stories. Second, right? Third thing, right? I'm gonna say this, and this is more recent. I had SNK on the show. He was playing Samurai Showdown. I asked them about Samurai Showdown. What would they want to go against? They said Soul Calibur. We would love to do that. What happens months later? Who's in Soul Calibur now?
Oh shit! Who's that?
Amaru.
Oh
Amaru
shit!
From Samurai Showdown.
Nice.
Is in Soul Calibur now, right? Boom. So now Nintendo Switch. You go to comicbook.com right now because the DCD Robert covered the story. Mm-hmm. At first, he cited somebody that had a lot of information before the Switch was announced and stuff like that. And then I said, "Yo, Robert, I broke this story way before that dude because he broke it in 2004. He broke it in 2015. I broke this, I think, May 23rd, 2014, about the Nintendo Switch."
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And then when he put it out, he updated the article. I was there before it. That was all me with the Nintendo Switch. And then not only that, Robert had made mention that the other dude had a bit more information. Of course, he had more information. It was later. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what the? That ain't made no sense. But that was that. So that's just to name a few out of many. But the point is, what I'm saying is, some of the big PlayStation All-Stars, that was me, and stuff like that. I broke that before anybody. Period. Like, look this stuff up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Remember, I was the king of info. You know what I'm saying? I had all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to make is, like, matter of fact, you see all these remasters? Who was the person that set the tone for the entire industry going in that direction? Me. Want to know why? Halo 1 HD remake, September 2009. joystick.com confirms what I said back in September 2009. And that was the biggest remaster that led to all these other AAA titles getting remasters too. Devil May Cry collection, Metal Gear, so on and so forth. And that's ran its course. That's why remakes is now and remastering engine, everything ties into everything. That's why I feel 100%.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I'm glad you broke all this down. By the way, people in the chat right now are loving what you're saying, man. They're giving you a lot of props right now, man. So give them some love back, man.
A word, yo, much love to the chat. I appreciate y'all. One love and God bless. It's very humbling, and I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate it. Now listen,
yeah,
like there's been times where I said stuff and I was wrong. If I'm wrong about something, I'm wrong. Like I don't care about like that part. I care about always putting in the work, doing your best, and laying it all on the line. That's what I care about, because that's what you're about the culture.
That's what that's one thing I did say on our stream before. I was like, there definitely hip hop also put that as like, also put it on the line where it's like you put out this solid statement saying, but also fully being aware if there is something that if it does end up being wrong, you are willing to deal with the repercussions, whatever comes with that as well.
Yes, of course. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it's supposed. If you're a real journalist, you know what I'm saying, and you're an insider and you got sources or whatever, like anybody could be an insider from a Twitter account and you ain't got no face, because now you can't really be held accountable. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my thing is my love and respect for the culture and the industry and the way I fight for it and the way I put things out. It's like, yo, are we in this or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like anybody in the industry, period, to tell you, you have everybody else, then you got HipHopGamer. There's a clear-cut difference between me and everybody else. And I'm not saying that like I'm better than you or better. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I'm the best at what I do because I genuinely care that much. That's why I'm willing to put it on the line. So, and my thing is like, for example, Kratos in Mortal Kombat. That was me. And then even Ed Boon, when I was on red carpet at the VGAs, was like, yeah, and you called it. Like, gave me my props. Like, you know what I'm saying? On camera. Like, this is not new. It's not new to me breaking a story. Like, you know what I mean? And when I break a story, I try my best to break the biggest stories, because that's how you be remembered. Think about it. I came in the industry in 2008, and people still to this day, like, know me, talk about me, and everything. Like, love the energy, all of that.
Or at least remember seeing you with the belt.
Yeah, with the belt. With the belt, and now the chain. You know what I'm saying? Got the chain too, baby. We lit. You know what I mean? but yeah, think about it. Think about this. Think about this. I was the first black journalist inside PlayStation Home.
That's right, yeah. I remember that. You were walking around and shit.
They had the belt walking around
with the belt, yeah.
In PlayStation Home.
Up on the big screen in the PlayStation Home. I remember walking in there. There's hip hop up there.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's easy for people to forget, but I'm just letting you know, you can't. One thing about marketing is that it's all geared to be subliminal. So when you look at Jim Ryan come on stage, and the first thing you see is PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now that's not the only time. That's one. When you look at the commercial that somebody put in the chat and stuff like that, why are you even talking about all these memories? Why does it even matter if you're not gonna do nothing about it fully? Because you got to think about it. And then when you look at PlayStation Now, they got remote play. Oh, also, if you look at the fine print of PlayStation Now, when they talk about being able to download certain games, even on PC, it says that you can't download them on PC yet, or something like that. Yes. It's fine print.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
It's set. I'm telling you,
yo,
like,
that's
these
crazy.
Things aren't mistakes. Like, everything is. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure that they will utilize PlayStation Now in a bigger and better way going forward. It's not going to stay the same exactly the way it is now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made everything downloadable going forward in the next generation with PlayStation Now. so that in case you don't get a chance to get the disc, you can still download the game and play it if you don't got the disc or can't get the disc or however they decide to do it. My thing is, like I said before, the PlayStation Now style with the licensing, you gotta be careful of from a business standpoint. But if you got the disc, boom. But then what happens there if you got the disc? That's a whole nother business model. Why you think the SNES came out, the Genesis came out, the PlayStation Classic came out? Those things are not done by accident. Everything that you see any company come out with, R&D or like everything has been put together before any investment is made. They don't guess. This is not guessworking companies. They make sure they target what they need to target. So when they make a bet or they take a chance, the percentage is high that there's something in return that's going to come back, so they feel comfortable about investing.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying? Like, this is what I be trying to tell people. Like, you can't, if you're not a business person or never ran a business or never had to go into the world of entrepreneurship or study anything, and you're just speaking solely from a consumer standpoint because of what you want, then you're a kid in this space. You're not mature yet to understand the things that go on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And things are thought out like 10, 15 years in advance. Like, for example, PlayStation VR came out, 3 years ago? 2017?
Yeah, 2017, yeah.
Do you know that Shuhei Yoshida was playing PlayStation VR in 2010?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it's in there. It's in a lot of that. A lot of that stuff is a lot. It was all in their development department. I mean, from like they said that a lot of the move equipment that was all repurposed from stuff that they had been working on for years inside of their labs.
Yeah, and you got to understand something with patents. Not all patents go through, but a lot of them do go through. But you have to, put these patents together to protect yourself for what you actually choose to go through with. It takes a lot. Think about it. Why is it that I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 2014, the first backwards compatibility patent geared for PlayStation 5 was made?
Yeah.
A year after PS4 was out. Come on, man. It's like, these are the conversations that a lot of journalists that you see on other like outlets and platforms, they don't break it down like this. I don't know why, but they don't. And I think I know why. See, I've always been independent. I never worked for a company. I always worked, like I was always independent. I always worked for myself when it came to the gaming industry. And now, thank God I'm able to fully be, working for myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have a day job. So the point I'm trying to say is I've always been me. I never had to, listen to what IGN boss had to tell me, or listen to what, like Kotaku's senior editor would tell me, or tell me to change something. Like, nah, I never had to do that, ever. So it's different with me.
Steven Totillo ain't telling you what to do, right?
Come on, baby, really? Like, y'all know what it is, man. You know what I'm saying?
Man. That's crazy, man.
But
yeah, no.
So I hope people got a chance to really dissect and understand more about the industry overall and the things that happen. And if you don't know me, you got a chance to know me more. And I'm just trying to do my best out here because, like I said, man, my grandmother taught me how to play games. Like it means something different to me when it comes to the game industry and the culture and everything. It's deeper than just the game. It really changed and saved my life. Between video games and church, it really shaped my life. So, I'm thankful, man. And I just can't wait for the PS5 to be revealed. I can't wait for E3, and I just can't wait for all of this, man. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, man. All right. So, in hip hop, this is the last thing I want to ask you, right? Because remember when PS4 was announced, right? That was in February 2013, right? Do you think the same thing's going to happen this February? Because I think it is. I think they announced the PS5 at their own show in February. I think that's definitely going to happen. What do you think?
Well, obviously, I don't know what I say. I believe it will happen in February as well. Not because they did it before in February, because that's like an easy guess they did before, they do it again. Nah. The reason why I think that they'll do it in February is because in February, they have, if I'm not mistaken, I remember, I think there's a certain game coming out in either February or March. Because my thought process on this was based off the release of Final Fantasy 7 HD remake and some other stuff. The reason why is because January 13th, I should actually have the official reveal date.
Okay.
Like, I should actually know by January 13th. By January 13th, I should actually know. Yeah. But until that day, just for the sake of the show, there's the attention that this is going to get. They don't want it to. They want to make sure that the momentum and the flow of what this reveal does generate even more energy the games that they're going to sell this year and stuff like that. So
okay.
And just to add something to you, I'm not sure if y'all seen the Marvel's Avengers interview that I did.
No, I didn't get to catch that. Yeah. Okay,
so I did it. I did an interview with Crystal Dynamics for Marvel's Avengers game that's coming out, right? And you know, we spoke about the PlayStation 5 and everything and what you'll be able to do on it and like that, right? And you know, they deferred. They didn't say no, because I told them I didn't say is it coming to PS5. I said, what does the PS5 got that will make Marvel's Avengers better when y'all release it?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How I flip the question. Yeah. So he never said no, but what he said was any technology that comes out, we're going to make and stuff like that. Like that's the way he said it. So that gave me the right to set the narrative since they didn't. I could set the narrative. I'm not lying. So I did that. When I did that, I was hit up and they was like, yo, you can't say that. Like I need you to change the title, please. This and that, this and that. I'm like, oh, cool, no problem. And, you know, I changed the title. But the reason why they wanted me to change it is because the game is coming to PS5, but why get it now on PS4 if the PS5 version is going to be significantly, you know, like better when you run that same game on PS5, it's going to be significantly better. So I'm gonna just wait instead of getting it now. But they need people to get it now because that's business.
Yeah, they don't want to cut their sales.
Because people are just wait. So they didn't want to do this. How to change that?
Can we be real though? Like, come on, that game's coming to PS5, bro. Like, of course, why are they even trying to hide that? You know, of course it is.
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, you can't do that. Like, you can't just say that because people will wait, which will disrupt what you're trying to do.
Oh no. Yeah, obviously, like business wise, you can't say that. But it's like as a gamer, it's like you know a new Call of Duty's coming out this year. You know, shit like that.
But also business wise, business wise, you can't say no to like opportunities. It's like let's say you ask I don't know, fucking who's the head of like Phil Spencer's like, yo, you think you can buy out? Yeah, you think you can buy out Bungie? You know, get them back? He's not gonna say no.
Yeah, I know. But you know what?
But you gotta. But see, this is going by it anyway. They don't like to wait.
Yeah, that's true too. But for me, the reason why I do that is because, like, all right. So one of the things that I do. So when in 2008, when I officially became a journalist, a few years later, I started watching a lot of like cop shows and detective shows a lot more. Like I love Law and Order. I love like, you know, New York Undercover, all these like shows and stuff like that. But I started watching.
They're bringing that back.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yo, that's crazy. So, but I watch those shows with a closer eye. The reason why I watch those shows with a closer eye now, because in journalism, you have to be able to read body language just like how somebody would talk to you. And over the years, I really studied. And I interview a lot of the same people, and I interview a lot of new people, and I study body language. And yo, when I tell you certain things is a dead giveaway, and I understand, I already know what's happening before it's happening. And that's another reason why I'm right a lot, because it's a dead giveaway in terms of body language. Perfect example, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? You start the game out as Leonidas. When they flew us out, to do coverage on the game before the game released and stuff like that. One of the interviews that I did, I asked him, because I'm a big fan of 300. So I asked him, like, yo, will we get a chance to play as King Leonidas? And before he could even answer it, he smiled so hard. It was like I can't say nothing, but like, just, you gotta play the game. You gotta play the game. So he didn't say it, but he said it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, and that's another thing, even in the behind the scenes conversations, when we was talking about what we was talking about with the backwards compatibility, man, so many dead give. I mean, I ain't have to have a dead giveaway after a while. Like, they just came out and said it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So I'm ready.
That's what's up, man. Anyway, do we need to let you go? Because I know you're busy and all that. You know, you gave us a great. As a matter of fact, we've been at this for an hour and a half almost. I'm gonna just cut this part and make it like a special section. You know what I'm saying? Because this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we let you go, man, again, obviously, thank you for being on. You know, really, like, your video is 15 minutes. This was an hour and a half. You explained this shit, so you went. You know. So anyway, thank you for that.
Man.
And let the people know where they can find you, man.
Yo, HipHopGamer, just go to Google. Like, type in HipHopGamer. I'm everywhere. God bless, and I love y'all. Happy New Year.